What does that feel like to be in power? What does it feel like to be in a forcefulness?
Power feels like an embodied strength to me. I don't associate feeling powerful with external. It's within me and then wherever my intentions are going. If I'm implementing force, I think of protecting myself, being strong against something. There isn't any greater power than oneness, pure consciousness, and there's no greater power than it because that is what we are. So it's pure. It's genuine.
Those bottom emotions, they're the low frequency emotions, basically guilt, shame, fear, etc. It's not that they're bad, that they're just low frequency. And they can rise by influence of the higher frequencies. And what's the higher frequencies? If you look at the same chart, the highest frequencies, obviously one of them is feeling of oneness, feeling of love, feeling of truth, acceptance. So your ability to be aware and or authentic. Those frequencies are a lot higher. So once you start feeling awareness, it overrides the frequency that's lower with that higher.
If we're on that foundation and steady in that awareness, we can have more compassion for how people feel about our journey and still stay on our own process and not abandon ourselves.
A lot of people never come out of this loop.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
it's again for lack of awareness, us being used to guilting and shaming ourselves. Forget, judging and guilting and shaming other people, but we do that to ourselves. What we project outwards is what we actually do inwards. So when somebody's telling you, judging you, criticizing you, shaming you, guilting you something, that's the energy they're holding against themselves. It's their own prison. Hello, beautiful souls, curious minds. Welcome back to yet another Awaken Aware podcast session. In today's session, Tammy and I are going to talk about power versus force. What's the difference there? And what are the ways to get from being in a forceful state of being, state of mind, into being in a empowered state of being or mind? So let us jump right in, help me welcome Tammy back, and see where this conversation takes us. All right, beautiful souls, curious minds, welcome back. It's good to have you here. And with me once again is Tammy. Thank you for being here, as
Thank you.
usually. Looking forward to see what this brings us to. And in today's talk, I was going to talk about the difference between power, being powerful, and then being forceful. And so force versus power or power versus force. And some of you may have heard of a fairly famous book called Power versus Force, written by David Hawkins, and he has delineated a lot of the difference between these two aspects of our daily occurrences, just perceiving how it feels to you to be forceful and how it feels to you to be powerful. Besides David Hawkins and his lifetime study around power versus force, and Peter Crone oftentimes likes to talk about also like feel into what does that feel like to be in power? What does it feel like to be in a forcefulness and or be forced to reckon with in some sense? Sometimes people say that. Just feeling into those two words. And it's just words, obviously, but the difference, the meaning behind those two words. And for me, it was powerful to realize the difference in the sense that when I hear of the word force, and then also in like from like Star Wars, the May Force be with
Mhm.
you, right? And when I feel into the word force
Mhm.
and I feel into the word power, I do feel the difference for me in a sense that in feeling empowered and or in power versus feeling the force that's coming through me. I'm not saying one is wrong, one is right. I'm saying I feel a difference in the meaning of those two words. I personally talk often about force and then force that's going in through you, through all of us, right? The force of the earth, the universe, the power that is there. And oftentimes I'll say one or the other, kind of depending on how I feel, but I want to point out that the acting from place of power and empowerment feels different to me than feeling from perspective of force. So I want to start with this bit, and then we'll go a little deeper on that. And then I just wanted to see for yourself, Tammy, what do those two words feel like to you? Like, what's the distinction there that, if any, for yourself?
Mhm.
Like, how would you use them, or how do you use them, or how do you hear them being used in your
Mhm.
world?
Yeah, so for me, the first force, the first thing that comes to me is bracing
Hmm.
or pushing. Power or empowered, I associate with the flow of the natural, genuine force, meaning like love coming from me, but the power is how it comes. But force feels like colder, forcing. So I could spin it a couple of ways, but it also is like we could say the force within me. But even that power feels like an embodied strength to me. To feel powerful, to me, I don't associate that with another person, place, or thing. I don't associate feeling powerful with external, what I'm going to do or what's happening externally. It's within me and then wherever my intentions are going. If I'm implementing force, I'm either, I think of protecting myself, being strong against something, more powerful than something externally. That's just how I process through it. And my earlier life, I lived that way more from that force because it was more of a like a defensive fear defense.
Hmm.
And that's what force feels like. And it feels like that's how I, move forward was forcing myself. Now I move forward in allowance, trusting the power within me to move me,
Hmm.
if
Beautifully
that makes
said. This is exactly, absolutely makes sense. Yes. This perfectly ties into the next piece of this, which is what I was going to point out. So if you're looking at the scale that Dr. David Hawkins came up with, the bottom part of this is where the feelings or emotions of guilt and shame are. And guilt and shame, apathy and grief and fear and desire and or anger, pride, it breaks with around the level of 200, and that's courage. And then there's neutrality, willingness, acceptance, etc. But point being is that he used a technique called kinesiology or muscle testing, to basically decide on the quantitative table really for these emotions, and he would test yes and no answers. His body, because body is always going to tell truth. It cannot not be in touch with nature, with the natural flow of life. And so it
sense.
will always be strong if something is true, and it'll always be weak when something is not true. And so he would decide, okay, I'm gonna do a scale from 0 to 1,000, and then tell me what number does the shame have, for instance. And he has tested a variety of different people. He also done these calibrations experiment over like span of 20 years or so, and a couple 100,000 of different calibrations, I believe. And so the scientific community has eventually validated this method of showing a truth based on natural body's response. So the way that Dr. David Hawkins would have people or his subjects to test out this truth and non-truth of certain emotions and certain events, even I believe that he's done tests for, is that he would have a subject or the person hold out the arm like this, and then he would ask them to resist his pressing downwards. And whenever the question was asked that he asked that was not true, the arm would basically just give out. And whenever the answer was true, the arm would stay strong. So it's actually quite fascinating the way that he's done his research. If those of you who are
Mhm.
interested, definitely look it up. It's very cool. But just going back to the table briefly before we move on to the next part of this, is that those bottom emotions, they're the low frequency emotions, basically fear, guilt, shame, fear, etc. Those are, it's not that they're bad, that they're just low frequency. Okay. those low frequencies can rise. And they can rise by influence of the higher frequencies. And what's the higher frequencies? If you look at the same chart, the highest frequencies, obviously one of them is feeling of oneness, feeling of love, feeling of truth, acceptance. So your ability to be aware and or authentic, right? So those frequencies are a lot higher. So when once you start feeling awareness, it overrides the frequency that's lower with that higher. And this is where people often talk about, like in NLP, they will talk about reframing. And so this is how the reframing can happen. So, sometimes people talk about affirmations, and affirmations can work if the intention is true. But if you're just saying the words that you're trying to affirm, that you feel so scared inside, but you say, I'm brave, I'm brave, I'm brave, your mind rejects it because it says, no, that's not true, right? And your body knows it's not true. So then saying affirmations in that way doesn't actually help. But at least to me, and I'm curious about what your opinion is about that per se, and the affirmation stuff. Like, does it work, and then or not? Have you seen it both work or not work in your world?
Right. Yeah, and I would associate, like, to bring it to the power and the force, like, so the guilt, shame, and those emotions I attach to force. And what I mean by attached to is in feeling them,
Hmm.
that instinct of that force, that defense, that like looking around and, for predatory things that are perceived. But power, there isn't any greater power than oneness, pure consciousness, and there's no greater power than it, because that is what we are. So it's pure, it's genuine. There is nothing false about it. It cannot be talked out of. And so, as you said, though, that overrides, so the awareness of that overrides. And so wherever we place our focus is where our life, our experience will go, wherever our focus is. Affirmations can be helpful in changing the focus, but source energy listens to what we feel, not what we say. So saying something can help to change our pattern. So I love affirmations. It's just that my outlook and my suggestion, if I'm asked, is that, yeah, go ahead and make them. But if you're not assuming the feeling of the having of the desire, they're words, and there's conflict. So
Hmm.
there's going to be a dis-ease within us because there's a conflict to what we're feeling and what we're saying. It's not aligned. And alignment must be in order to have. So everything's all there, doesn't mean it's not there. For example, if you are currently, an ailment, a condition, we can say, rather than say, if my arm is broken, oh, my arm is not broken, my arm is perfectly well. Well, actually, no, 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 it isn't. It is broken. We can say, I'm so grateful, and I affirm that my body heals so quickly and rapidly. I assert that, and so declare it, that how healthy the body is in order to heal whatever is presently there. Because we don't deny that we have a broken arm. So we can affirm the wellness and the ability of our body to change. We can affirm the ability of our mind to change our own thoughts and our choice over that. And so just, we can be realistic in our affirmations, but just, if we need to be matched with how we feel, it needs to match what we say. It needs to be congruent.
Hmm. I love that you talk about congruency and of the inner feeling. Really, it's just like, what do you feel inside? Is that
Mhm.
the keeping it congruent? And
Yeah.
yeah, so that's
Mhm.
basically exactly what it is. That the forcefulness of the lower frequency emotions, vibrations, basically is where we act from. We act from guilt, from shame, from apathy, from fear, from anger and or pride even. So like we act from these emotions or from these states of mind when we are in this forcefulness. Obviously, our energy then is lower. And the outcome of in our life that we're going to get because we're using these lower frequencies is exactly that. We're going to get lower frequency outcomes that are going to feel hard. It's like life is hard. Yes, it's hard. It's going to feel that way
Hmm.
because we are in the lower frequencies. So if you find yourself saying, yeah, man, life's hard, check into like, okay, so you said that, you feel some of that is, or it's true for you, that's reality for you. Could there be a possibility that you maybe spend a lot of your time in your life in these lower frequencies?
Hmm.
And what often happens is that these lower frequencies are so insidious. They're really hard to see. They're really hard to find, and they are really hard to identify. And so, of course, we deny every time we're asked or faced with something. No, 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 I don't do that. I wouldn't, right? And so we don't even realize that we're indulging in shaming or guilting either others or ourselves. If I just stick with these two emotions, guilt and shame, the lowest ones on the chart, we don't often realize that anytime you judge someone, you're really actually judging yourself in a
Hmm.
long run. Judgment is also right along, it's a bedfellow of the guilt and shame.
Hmm.
So if you didn't feel guilty about something, if you didn't feel shame about something, you would not be judging others. You'd be accepting others, basically. The acceptance comes, and then you have the higher frequencies from that's that fourth dimension in the chart again. There's a three-dimensional being is the lower, that's the forceful part, and then once we move into like the fourth dimension, fifth, sixth, etc., that's the higher dimensions. Basically, that's the higher frequencies, and life is not hard in those frequencies. In on the contrary, it's actually very fluid, kind of like a water. It's like when you're saying water flows, it goes around a rock. It doesn't go like it bumps into a rock, goes, get out of my way. It just like goes around. It's like, okay, that was a rock. Okay,
Hmm.
boom, keep moving,
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? Didn't
Yeah.
phase the water, right? So again, being in that kind of a state of being, noticing whether your frequency is high or low throughout the day. That's all that I would like to encourage others, because this is like what I'm practicing in my own life, is to notice where my energy drops and then notice when it rises and then what it feels like, both the low, the high, and then obviously understanding that there are ways to bring our frequency from the lower to higher. And some of that is through movement, through healthy, nutritious foods, drinking plenty of water, getting plenty of rest, getting good sleep. The basic stuff, right? To balance yourself up. And then others is through contemplation, meditation work, and understanding like where you are in life, etc. So those are the tools, really. But recognition and being able to tell where you are on this scale at the present moment, I find that's the most important piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And when I'm thinking about the scale and the gauge of emotions,
Yeah.
force would say to the guilt, the shame, anything that we don't want to feel, anything other than the oneness, the pure consciousness that we are. Force would say, deny it, get rid of it. Don't look at it, don't touch it. Get rid of it. Get it out. Force it out. So, acceptance, love would say, "Oh, okay. What is that? All right. I'm feeling angry. I'm feeling frustrated. I'm whatever it is. I'm feeling guilt. I'm feeling the remembrance, first of all, that we have a choice, that we can sit in that. We can, in an instant, we can be in that thought and experience of oneness, of pure consciousness, which can see, hear, and hold whatever is brought to it. So that trust in that, and it's okay. Like it's all right. Go ahead and feel them, acknowledge them. Just acknowledge them long enough for them to give you the message of, where they're sourced within us. So even if it's somebody outwardly, we've talked about this as everybody's a reflection. So even if somebody else did something and no, I'm mad, they did this and this is what happened. Okay. And you feel frustrated, we feel whatever we feel. All right. It doesn't matter whether our feeling was sourced externally or we came up with it all on our own in our own little world in our own little experience. We can still bring it into that space of the power of the pure consciousness and oneness and all of that. Accept it, and then it'll dissolve usually as soon as we bring it into it. There's nothing really to do but not bypassing it or just forcing it out, you know, just feel it.
Yes. And I don't know how many times we say in these podcasts, feel your feelings, basically, or the message we point to that. And it's not just here,
Mhm.
like it's all the authors and or spiritual gurus, whatever we want
Yeah,
to name
sure.
name
Mhm.
the influencers, light workers, whatever you guys like to name that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of message that goes around that says basically feel your feelings. And
Mhm.
especially I want to point out, don't think your feelings, feel your feelings,
Good point.
because
Mhm.
this is what we often do. It's like that's what spiritual bypassing is
Yeah.
to think the feelings.
Mhm.
Oh, I shouldn't be acting like this. Oh, I know that I shouldn't be doing this. Okay, so I won't be doing that, right? But that still
Mhm.
should. So the words should, I need to, I must, I have to, they they represent forcefulness again. So this is back to there's pressure behind these words. There's some way of that I have to do this means that some way I have created a pressure around something that I have to do.
Mhm.
Otherwise, something will happen where there will be some consequences that I don't think I want in my life, right? And sure, I mean, I
Mhm.
have to pay my bills, so I will have, so I can actually live in my home. Yes, I mean, that has to happen. And I'm not saying you cannot
Yeah.
ever use the word have to or should,
Mhm.
but just notice how you use them because this is where it's going to reveal for yourself where the should is basically just a pressure on yourself.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, and to the thinking, the thinking is of the mind, and the mind can't solve a lesson that's here for the heart. The soul needs to feel it. And if we bring it to the mind as our consult, it can't meet it. So to try to solve it by the mind, what's going to happen? Well, the mind is going to look externally. It's going to look for the blame. It's going to look for judgment, ourselves and others. It's going to keep us in that loop because that's that's its job. Because if it figures it out, it keeps us safe. And so, but if we release it for the heart to just feel, which is the solitude, the surrender, the allowing, surrender it all. Surrender it all. Just for a moment. Like the teachers teach, like just set it aside just for a moment. You can pick it up later if you want to. Just set it over here for a minute. Just leave it outside the door, as Muji says. Leave it outside the door. Come inside to the heart. It'll be right there, right outside the door when you leave. You can go pick it up again if you want it and keep it all for yourself. Just come inside and leave it out there and see what's there. And what is there is pure love, which is what solves it.
Mhm.
It dissolves, it goes away.
Amazing. That's exactly what it is. It's like dissolution happens rather than leaving it to the mind and trying to have itself loop around for eternity or what feels like
Yes.
eternity, right?
And pick
So
more stuff up along the way.
yes. Yeah, that happens. That happens constantly. Oh, then
Mhm.
if this, then what if that too? Oh my God, now we have
Mhm.
more issues. Oh,
Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Tag-alongs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I want to also speak to a little bit to curiosity and how that curiosity is one of the tools that can dilute and or dissolve that those lower frequencies. Like you were saying earlier, that asking yourself, what if, or what if this was there for me, and or it's like what if. So like that kind of questioning promotes curiosity, and because of that curiosity vibration that
Mhm.
vibrates higher up on the scale, you basically start to bring more awareness in. And awareness again is on a scale is like close to thousands, like 700, I think was on a David Hawkins scale
Mhm.
awareness, right? So higher you
Mhm.
go, more aware you are, higher you are on that scale. And
Mhm.
basically that lower frequency just dissolves. Same way as like back in the day when you tune the radio tuner onto one frequency, and in order to get to a different frequency, you have to tune the radio to a different frequency, right? So you
Mhm.
can't listen to FM station if you're on AM frequency. This
Yeah.
is like like if you tune yourself away from AM and you go to FM, or even just like a higher frequency on AM and higher frequency on FM, doesn't matter. You
Mhm.
turn yourself to a higher frequency, that lower frequency is still there. It's just you're not part of it
Mhm. Yeah.
anymore.
Yeah.
That's the only thing.
Mhm.
Like it dissolves for you in that moment. And
Mhm.
so it happens to you, really. It happens to you because you tune yourself to curiosity by, again, asking a simple question. What if this for me? What if this was done for me? Okay, versus
Mhm.
it's happening to me. What if it was done for me? What if?
Mhm. Well, from pure consciousness and from love, we find love in whatever we're looking at because it's through that lens.
Mhm.
So if we choose to be in a loving state and feel that, then what we choose to bring into it, we're going to see the love in it because otherwise it couldn't come in. So again, to your point, like, yeah, that station, like choose the station of love.
Mhm.
Doesn't mean sometimes you're going to hear things that we don't want to hear. We're going to, bad news is going to come and trials are going to come and all of that, but they're all going to be lessons, not hits,
Mhm.
like there's gonna be mountains, but there's not gonna be any landslides that knock you off. Like, the
Mhm.
boulders aren't gonna be falling on you, you're gonna be climbing over them. So it's still hard, there's still a climb and, like, hard work or whatever we can call it, but when it's all in love, then we can handle it because we know where it's bringing us. We're
Yeah.
not going backwards with anger, frustration, and staying in the low and burying ourselves under all those layers
Yeah.
of the low vibration, that's gonna keep us lower and bury us. Love's gonna plant us and we're gonna grow.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm. I love that. And when you're pointing it out, I'm also hearing that when I have in my classes people say that I'm trying to relax. And I say, okay, well, what is tune into that energy for a moment? What does that feel like if you're trying to do something? Okay. And what does that feel like if you breathe slowly and you exhale and you allow something to happen, like you allow your breath to happen versus you force the breath out? What's the difference between those two? One is
Mhm.
powerful, one is forceful. It's like feeling to that. Breath itself is the teacher, okay,
Yeah.
here. So if
Mhm.
I'm in that space of I effortlessly inhale and effortlessly exhale, I'm not trying to breathe harder. I could do that. It's make it a workout, right?
Mhm. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's gonna get more blood going into muscles, and again, muscles gonna grow. Like if you're working out, you're gonna need that. When you're running, you're gonna need that, right?
yeah.
But if you are in that state of relaxation, in a parasympathetic state, your body is in the space of healing,
Mhm.
rejuvenating,
Yeah.
repairing, digesting, right? But if you're in a sympathetic space, your nervous system is completely thrown off. That's a fight or flight.
Mhm.
There is no time for healing. There's no time to digest. So all the hormones are going to be heightened on the cortisol, norepinephrine side. That's going to be shooting in through your system, and it's going to be you're going to be using a lot of your energy
Mhm.
to even digest some food if you have eaten anything in that state of mind, in that state of being.
Sure.
The powerfulness of us happens when we are in the space of, yeah, I've got this. And it may feel like it's hard, but it's like, okay, I'm going through it, but I'm aware that I can handle this. And if I
Right.
can't handle something that I've tried, and it's like, okay, this is a little too hard. I am not able to do this right now. Okay, what can you do to change? Either your positioning, get help, or get out of the situation where you are at.
Mhm.
Can you change something? Yeah, you mostly you can. There's probably a few times in life where you cannot easily, right? Where it may be
Hmm.
a life or death situation, but mostly you
Yeah.
can make some change.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And
Mhm.
everlasting change happens more through allowing than forcing. Forcing is temporary.
Hmm.
Forcing is like a burst of something,
Hmm.
but power of within, it's everlasting and it grows and expands. So if power is associated with love, with pure consciousness, it's infinite expansion. Force is like, you know, you use a hammer, you're hitting a nail, you're using force, but it's just temporary to
Hmm.
hit the nail into the wood. But force maintained is disease and
Yeah.
dis-ease,
Yeah.
right? If we try to maintain force,
Yeah.
we get sick and tired and worn out and drained.
Hmm.
That's because that's control. But power is everlasting and expansive, and there's no shortage of air to breathe.
Yep.
It, it it's infinite.
Yep. Doesn't run out, just like love.
Yeah. Doesn't run out, can't go anywhere, and nothing can kill it or make it go away.
Hmm.
It's always there.
Yeah, I love like when late Windar was describing that, there's a lot of things in our world that are divisible. If you divide
Mhm.
something
Yeah.
into it, you split something, you get two pieces, but you have less of something. Like if I cut something in half and I take half of that, you have less of something. But if you like with love, if you like cut it in half, you still have love kind of thing. Like you
Mhm.
can cut it so many
Yeah.
pieces and you'll still have the love
Yeah.
kind of thing. So like it's indivisible. And I always
Mhm.
remember that it's like, yeah, that's part of the source, right? So there's the
Yeah.
source is just is. It's just there all the time. Doesn't go anywhere. It's just like, are we tuned to that source energy? Whether it's
Mhm.
love, whether it's
Yeah.
abundance, whether it's health, whether it's wealth, whatever, right?
Mhm.
And then touch briefly onto that part of again of awareness and how the importance of
Mhm.
awareness that causes us to be able to again remain in the space of being powerful, having the freedom to choose, actual freedom to choose where you're going to go, what you're going to do, and not trying to do something, not resist, not be elsewhere, but be present and in that awareness. So spending your time in presence and awareness is the greatest gift, I feel, that we
Mhm.
can give to ourselves.
Yeah. If our first choice is to be aware that we are love and pure consciousness,
Hmm.
then any awareness that we bring into that will be love and pure consciousness. It can't not be.
Hmm.
And even if we attract something that doesn't feel like love, if we're on that foundation of our awareness in the belief that we are love, even if that something comes and it's not of love, it's recognized right away because the awareness sees it. So if it comes, that means it's meant for us
Hmm.
because that it comes to us with a purpose for us to transform it. That's how we evolve and grow. Because if nothing comes to us for us to transform, then we're not growing. But we trust that. That eliminates, dissolves the, oh my God, why is this happening to me? I'm a victim. It's more like, oh, okay, well, this kind of sucks, but okay. I have the assurance that it's here for me if I'm in that foundation that of awareness that I am love.
Hmm.
I'm 100% confident that whatever comes to me, there's something there for me. It's not just a random, like, oh, I'm being punished and bad things are happening to me. No, it's never that. You wouldn't even occur if you're on that foundation.
I love that you made that distinction there, Tammy. That's
Mm,
that's so important. That's so important to have that understanding that just because we are used to living in a lower vibration
mhm,
it's when we shift into the higher vibration and then we it feels unfamiliar, it doesn't mean it's not true. It's just unfamiliar. And so more often you hang out in those higher frequencies, those higher vibrations,
Yeah.
more often it
Mhm.
will feel like whenever you scale back down to lower vibrations, you'll be like, wow, that's how I used to live? That's so weird, you
Oh.
know? And then you don't even realize when that shift really truly happens. Oftentimes, or sometimes you do, it's like obviously
Mhm.
throughout life we have epiphanies, we have awakenings, and
Mhm.
during those times, obviously you have sometimes it's a bigger light bulb going off, sometimes a smaller light bulb going off. But
Mhm.
eventually at one point you might realize that, you know what, I have been living in high vibrations most of the time, like, Monday through Sunday. And it's now that I get to experience, I go to see my old friend who I used to hang out with, and we used to gossip about, or we used to just chat
Mhm.
crap, if I say it that way,
Yeah.
a professional
Mhm.
term, is that you don't even, you feel like you don't
Yeah.
fit.
Yeah.
And so being in that space of power where where you're connected with that oneness, with that love, with that wholeness, with that infinity, aware in this awareness,
Yeah.
that how you feel in that, it doesn't even occur to you, like you say,
Yeah.
to feel
Mhm.
otherwise. And if something like lowers the vibration, it's like, okay, well, no big deal.
Mhm. Yeah. I had the experience myself, and so when I sit with clients, I'm very, very clear about that part. It's always the first. It's, my second book, it's the first part of the book is coming into that and that foundation of the awareness of self, of love, because of the experience we have as we grow, to your point, because that can be really, like, dramatic. It can feel like aloneness, loneliness, uh, outcast, to look back at where we were, the people
Mhm.
we were with. Oh my, what does that mean? Does that mean I can't be
Yeah.
friends with those people? Do I have to not be with them? Oh, do I have to be careful where I go now? Can I not go to some certain function because it was it's like that can happen, and it can feel lonely.
Yeah.
It can feel like sometimes, a lot of times, very often, people of past relationships, to them, understandably, it can look like, "Oh, oh, you're better now? Oh,
Mhm.
you think you're higher than me?" Not
Mhm.
from a mean, angry. We can understand why that it looks like that.
Yeah.
And so, if we're not grounded in that process and we haven't taken the time to surrender, to be in solitude, to really form that sense of self in love, these things could be glitches for us, and it could make us, maybe even think of abandoning this path that we've been on because it's different. And when I was training horses, one of the first things I learned, when I remember my trainer saying it to the horse, anything strange or unusual is frightening.
Mm.
And I mean, it is for humans too,
Yeah.
right?
That's it.
Whoa, this is different. A friendship, maybe we've been friends with somebody for many years.
Yeah.
Well, oh, and now you're coming in as different and you don't want to hang out and have the same conversations. Feels like rejection to them, abandonment, maybe like I said, like maybe we think we're better than them. Like all these things can be felt by that person, and that doesn't feel good. We know what abandonment feels like. But if we're on that foundation and steady in that awareness, we can have more compassion for how people feel about our journey and still stay on our own process and not abandon ourselves. So we can understand how they feel and maybe, have the compassion so that they don't feel abandoned, but not abandon ourselves to make them feel better. So we still stay
Yes.
on the path,
Yes.
but, you know, that everybody's still doing their best. Even maybe some people, maybe they'll never change, but that doesn't mean they're like to your point, they're not bad people. They're
Yeah.
not less than. They're not. It's just a choice, and we made this choice, and we love it. But we can love our choice and be loved without demolishing anybody else in the wake of our journey forward.
Yeah, for sure. I love that you spoke to that again. It's pointing to if you agree to somebody to do something that you don't actually want to do, you're giving up your own power, right? If
Mhm,
you're
mhm,
agreeing to, if you are not agreeing to do something that somebody wants you to do because you feel that you shouldn't, or that something's like, okay, something's telling me this is not the way to go, right?
mhm,
Also, it may cause me more time that I don't necessarily have right now, and I'm focusing on this or that. And as much as I like you, I may not be able to do that right now. Maybe we'll do rain check, right? If you can
mhm,
say something like that, for instance, in a situation, you're staying in your own power. If you go with something out of guilt, again, now you are starting to force things. There is a
mhm,
resistance that's going to create frustration, that's going to create anger if you perpetuate it. And again, speaking from yesterday's occurrence in my life, there was an event where, I started to resist the current situation. And then I agreed to something that I felt like I wasn't going to agree to, but then I agreed to anyway. Then, of course, I developed and I felt the frustration rise within me. And then I felt myself feeling the frustration. And so brought awareness to that. And
mhm,
then I started to feel what if this or what if that? So the fear kicked in
mhm,
and I was feeling the fear. All of a sudden, I started to be angry because I was like, this is not releasing. I'm perpetuating this. And so now
mhm,
it's like growing. The pressure is growing. And I'm feeling it until I made myself stop and just feel that pressure, feel that anger that was building from the, mild irritation, then to a frustration, then to an anger.
mhm,
And at that point, I was like, okay, I have to stop everything and I have to just feel this anger, feel
mhm.
into that, and allow it to be there, allow it to pass. And
Yeah.
that's really what allowed me to shift through, again, with awareness, to shift through back into my own power and out of trying to force life, trying to maneuver things, behaving out of fear, behaving out of guilt, or shaming myself for doing this or that, right? Those are the low frequencies.
Yep.
So, do you happen
Mhm.
to have something
Yep.
that happens that you recall fairly recently, maybe that you had noticed that for
Yeah.
yourself?
Yeah. The thing that happens that sends us into that old lower vibration emotion, that can take off. Like if we don't have the awareness to catch it right away,
Mhm.
like you realized it, you stayed with it. Yesterday, I was driving on a back road, like 45-mile-an-hour speed limit. I'm driving, I'm at the speed limit. And I looked in my rearview mirror and I'm very conscious after the crash 4 years ago, right? And so I look and this car came up, I mean, I don't know how fast, like
Mhm.
this. And
Mhm.
I'm actually like looked and I contemplated, should I pull off? Like, does he see me? Is he going to stop? And he didn't start slowing down until he was like right there. So for me, I mean, to anyone that would be unnerving, but to me, I'm hyper aware and I'm like, ugh. And so for a minute, I went into it, brought me back, not just the memory of somebody coming up and rear ending me. It wasn't even so much that. What I started to do was I went into what happened after and the whole injustice of the whole process and
Mhm.
the law and the legalities of it and all of
Mhm.
the ways through the process of a lawsuit that I was disrespected, not supported, like all of the injustices that took place.
Mhm.
And it didn't go into victimhood of the injustice. It went to like the day of the deposition where I play it back in my, oh, Tammy, why did you let them do that to you? Why did you let them talk to you like that? Why didn't you speak up? Why didn't you? Why didn't you support yourself? That. And it's like, what? Like, I went so fast into it, and I'm
Mm.
talking about under 4 minutes. This is a very quick, and I'm like, and I actually out loud, I'm like, whoa, what are you doing to myself? I'm like, what, whoa, 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 whoa. What are you doing? We don't do this. No, 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 no. And I brought myself out of it. But it was, within a couple of minutes' time, that action of that driver behind me, who nothing happened, he didn't hit me, he slowed down, and he didn't really even tailgate me. It's like he just, I'm there, so but it was what I did with it.
Mhm.
And so that's a pointing to me that obviously I
Yeah.
still have some resentment towards myself over how I handled something.
Mm.
So therein lies, work for me to do. It was
Mhm.
appointing.
Yeah.
But because of my work being in the awareness and staying in that higher consciousness, number one, it only lasted a few minutes. It didn't last all day. I wasn't, I didn't have a breakdown over it. Like it wasn't like a big thing.
Mhm.
And I got right to work on it, sat with it and saw it as a blessing. But
Mhm.
if I wasn't in that state of loving awareness, that wouldn't have happened. I
Mhm.
would have been right back there 4 years ago and having an experience all over again and whatever.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. That's you're speaking to exactly like what most of us do throughout our life.
Yeah.
A lot of people never come out of this loop.
Mm-mm.
And
No.
it's again for lack of awareness.
Mhm.
And the lack of awareness again happens because we are too afraid. So there's a big amount of fear. There's
Mhm.
us being used to guilting and shaming ourselves.
Mhm.
Forget, judging and guilting and shaming other people, but we do that to ourselves.
Yeah.
This is one of those things when I was learning hypnotherapy and I was taking a training and then our trainer was telling us that basically when somebody is guilting you, they guilt themselves
Yes.
100 times more.
Mhm.
So just be aware of that little piece that
Mhm.
what we project outwards is what we actually do inwards. So when somebody's telling you, judging you, criticizing you, shaming you, guilting you something, that's the energy they're holding
Mhm.
against themselves. It's their own prison. And in that space, they cannot act differently. From that prison, they
Mhm.
cannot act
Right.
any different way. And so back to what you were saying, you were presented back again with this beautiful circumstance that was difficult
Mhm.
and allowed you to go back to, hey, you know what? There's still a few things here that you haven't felt through.
Mhm.
Can we come back to this and return and feel it through, right? So like
Yeah.
the quote goes, life presents you with people and circumstances where you're gonna reveal where you're not free, right?
Mhm. Yeah. And it isn't just around that. I've had this realization before throughout my life is that I was so set on not being a victim or victimizing myself and
Mhm.
stepping right into forgiveness of whatever it was, whether it was a relationship, anything that I forgot to tend to myself.
Mhm.
And so instead of victimizing myself, I turned myself into a villain
Mhm.
towards myself.
Mhm.
I You can't do anything with that. And
Mhm.
so then it became years of self-forgiveness because then it was just a loop of self-abandonment
Yeah.
and resentment,
Yeah.
but it was all towards me.
Mhm.
It was all towards myself. It was
Yeah.
just nothing but resentment. And it
Yeah.
wasn't about pointing or it wasn't about, like, even holding someone else accountable. People do what they do. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Exactly. We
I
all
say
do what
that
we do.
even
Mhm.
offenses, what matters is what we do with it, after it. Where does it stay in us?
Yeah.
What does it grow in us?
Yeah.
That's the key, and the more that we're loved, the less that anything other than love can be planted. If we are loved, we're not fertile soil for anything to be planted, so that's where, yeah, the offenses, things can happen, and we might be like, "Ooh," but it's like a, "Ouch." It's not like a knockdown, bury you kind of experience. They might hit, but they bounce off. They don't cause the wounds and the cuts because they can't get in that far to penetrate
Hmm.
through loving awareness.
Hmm.
I mean, it
Yeah. To allow yourself to be in a powerful state of being, powerful state of
Mhm,
mind, is to create some sort of practices and have understanding of your connectedness to oneness at all times. The practices that will remind you of that. So whether it's a meditation, whether it's the breath work, those things work pretty well because A, in a meditation, you're basically focused on paying attention to first your breath, right? And if you're with breath, breath is life. You know, if you don't breathe, you don't live, kind of thing. So,
yep,
so if you're paying attention to the breath, it's simple as that. Then you're tuned in to the nature of life that is, that's not trying, that is, right? I want to point that out. That's the two different things there.
mhm,
So you're not forcing anything. You're just paying attention. You're being present with your breath. This is where you connect back to the essence that you are. If you act most of your life from this perspective of essence, you know, you go to a meeting, you go to give a presentation, find a quiet space. You know, if you don't, if you're not in quiet space, put headphones on if you don't have headphones. Just focus on your breath in the noise wherever you are. Obviously, that comes back to practice again. Sometimes it's good to start with practicing with headphones on, with music on, soothing music, maybe guided meditation or something like that, and then gradually scaling into not using music, just being in quiet, then going into places that are loud and see if you can still get into that same meditative space where you
mhm,
touch that feeling of, I can feel my heartbeat. Okay. That's a whole nother thing. Sometimes I have people, okay, slow down your breath and feel your heartbeat.
mhm,
And people keep trying for like minutes and minutes on, and they're
mhm,
like, I don't feel my heart beating. And I say, because you're trying. If you just allowed yourself to just pay attention to it long enough, you will start feeling it. But if you're trying to feel it, you will never get it.
yeah,
So if you're just being present with like, okay, heart is in your chest, you know that, right? You know that it's beating, you're alive, obviously you're breathing. So tune into that space
yeah,
and feel for it. When you do that, this is your connection with the source.
mhm,
More often you do it, more frequently you put yourself in that higher frequency, less
mhm,
chance that lower frequency has to stick around.
yeah, yep, yep.
So
Yeah, I'll add one,
please.
practice that I share is, just really in terms of, we say, "Remember who you are."
Hmm.
So, something I have, if someone needs something physical to do, to write down,
Hmm.
I call it a life resume. So, when we're applying for a job, what do? We write down all our assets, we write down our best qualities. Why are we right for that job? What makes us the person? Well, what makes you right for your life? What do you do the best? What is it that, you know, lights people up that you do or that you say or something about you that when you look at somebody, you know that they felt loved because you were there? What do you do that makes something better than, when you leave it than when you got there? And just write it out. And that's sometimes that helps. Just like remember who you are. Remember all that power is within us, just like
I
the
love
breath.
that.
Mhm.
I love that. Thank
Yep.
you.
Mm.
Um, I would say that if you have a hard time, like I can imagine myself scrambling, like what do I do that's so good for other people? If you're something like me in that sense, sometimes and you have hard time recognizing it for yourself, ask
Yeah.
your good best friends.
Yep. Mhm. Yep. Mhm.
And they'll tell you. So, you
Yep.
know, so
Yeah.
if that fails, just ask your best friends.
Yeah. Or another thing is write down what you would wish to be
Hmm.
and then see if any of them are true. Like,
Okay.
write down what you
Beautiful.
would wish to be, walk away from it, set it down,
Hmm.
and then the next morning, do it at night. And then the next morning, wake up and look at them and say, has anyone ever told me that I do that? Has anyone ever told me
Mhm.
that they
Mhm.
feel safe in my presence? Has anyone ever told me that they feel peaceful after they speak with me?
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah,
anything. Yeah, it's all
perfect.
there. But again, yeah, ask a best friend. Mhm.
Yeah. And if you never heard anybody tell you these wonderful things about yourself, you need to get yourself new people.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Come in here, comment here, and I'll tell you where it's at. Yeah, I'll tell you
Beautiful.
the truth.
That's right. That's right. Tammy will tell you. All
That's
right.
right.
So thank you so much, Tammy, again for hanging out with us
Thank
here.
you.
And thank you, everybody who's listening out there. And
Mhm.
wishing you all the best. Beautiful day. Stay awake, stay aware, take good care of you, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again for tuning in with us here at the Wake and Wear podcast. If you enjoyed today's session, as usually, please hit that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell if you want to be notified about the next upcoming podcast that we are sending out weekly. And we are looking forward to have you back. Join us again. Until then, take good care of you. Stay awake and stay aware.